I'm inspired. I'm inspired.
Hey there guys, how's it going? My name is Sumit Chatterjee from the Flow Zone Academy, and I'm a flow state coach, which means that I help you feel better and perform better. Today I'm talking about the Jonah complex. The Jonah complex is a complex that was introduced by Abraham Maslow. He's a psychologist. He came up with a lot of interesting things, such as the hierarchy of needs, if you're familiar with that, as well as introducing the concept of self-actualization. Now, he said that on the path to self-actualization, there is something called the Jonah complex for certain individuals who have a fear of success, okay? A fear of success meaning there's a majority of people who don't even come close to what they're capable of in life, and they discover that there's an innate pull towards mediocrity and conformity, and it's based upon this biblical character called Jonah, where the character decided to run away when it was decreed that God gave him a certain fate. So you know that in your destiny you're meant to be doing something great, but you run away from it, you avoid it, right? So this is a unique and very ubiquitous sensation and feeling, in a very unfortunate condition in a lot of human beings, right? So, I mean, is this about being in reality or what is reality in the first place, right? So let's start to really explore this and dive into this fear of success, or this Jonah complex, right? So what Maslow said here is, and I'm going to read this out loud, he said that we fear our highest possibilities. We are generally afraid to become that which we glimpse in our most perfect moments, under the most perfect conditions, under the conditions of greatest courage. We enjoy and even thrill to godlike possibilities we see in ourselves in such peak moments. And yet we simultaneously shiver with weakness, awe, and fear before the very same possibilities. Okay, I noticed this when I was doing a bunch of things. When I was performing on stage, I noticed this. Okay, it was going incredibly well. And I get very in my head of, oh, I wonder if I'm going over time, or I wonder if I should give, other people before me or after me more of, time to perform, and maybe I'm just hogging the microphone or whatever, right? This is this fear of success that kicks in. If I do too well, something is going to happen and I won't be able to handle that success. I won't be able to handle the spotlight because I'll crumble underneath it, because I'm not good enough, because there's this inherent lack of self-worth that comes up over and over again that makes you feel average, that makes you feel mediocre, that makes you feel like an imposter syndrome, some people say, right? So starting to understand that is super key. Okay, I also remember I once approached this awesome, very beautiful woman, and I complimented her shoes, and when she responded well to it, I sort of just ran away from that. Okay, I noticed myself just like being like, yeah, oh great, she's smiling now, that means she wants me to talk further. What do I say? Nah, whatever I say right now is gonna be stupid. Even though I know that it's going well, I'm getting indicators that it's going well, I want to eject from that situation. Now, I've noticed this again and again. Maybe you've noticed this in yourself too. So that is your Jonah complex coming in, right? It's like not allowing you to really bask in the glory of your greatness and your purpose and your power, which is inherent, which is inside of you, and you know it's inside of you, but still you keep falling short. So what exactly is this inferiority, and how can we deal with this? Okay, so the other thing that he said is, in my own notes, I had first labeled this as fear of one's own greatness, or the evasion of one's destiny, or the running away from one's own best talents. Okay, this is a great example of like the higher self pulling you along and knowing like, hey, this is going to work out. Follow me. And you're like, nah, maybe it's not going to work out, And you just sort of push it away, but you know you'll be successful, but at the end of the day, you're just hoping that it doesn't happen, and maybe it's the fear, maybe it's the inherent resistance that you're feeling based on that thing of the unknown, right? You're going to have to fall in love with the unknown again, fall in love with adventure again. And, at times it doesn't matter if it's real as long as the vibes are there. And I've had this, long-winded conversation with my ego and my higher self. My ego wants to know how, right? How am I going to do it? What is the plan? What are the logistics? How is it going to work out in this particular way? How am I going to categorize it in my mind? And my higher self is just like, just ease, bro. Just chill. Just allow yourself to be in that effortless effort in that way. Just allow yourself to grow, man. You're actually putting barriers and limits and little tags on this thing that's making it way more complicated than it should be, or it is. Okay, not should be, but it gets to be that. You have the opportunity here, so lean into your greatness. Don't deny yourself your greatness, right? And we all know at some certain level we're playing smaller than we could be. We need to be playing at a greater level. Okay, we need to be raising our standards, but we can't raise our standards if we have this complex of us running away from our own fates, running away from our own destiny, okay? So what else does he say? It's certainly true that many of us evade our constitutionally suggested vocations called destiny, task, and life mission. So often, we run away from responsibilities dictated, or rather suggested by nature, by fate, even sometimes by accident, just as Jonah tried in vain to run away from his fate. Okay? This is continuing off of there. The person who says to himself, yes, I will be a great philosopher and I'll rewrite Plato and do it better, must sooner or later be struck dumb by his grandiosity, right? His arrogance. And especially in his weaker moments, he'll say to himself, who, me? And think of it as a crazy fantasy, or even fear it as a delusion. He compares his knowledge of his inner private self with all its weakness, vacillation, and shortcomings, with the bright, shining, perfect, and faultless image he has of Plato. Then, of course, he'll feel presumptuous and grandiose. What he doesn't realize is that Plato, introspective, must have felt just the same about himself, but went ahead anyway, overriding his doubts about himself, okay? So I want you to think of this idea of doubting your doubt, okay? Doubting your own doubt. So if you're like, hey, man, that's too many birds of prey in my visualization, you can always be like, hey, I'm doubting that it's too many birds. What if it's just the right amount of birds? What if? So instead of maybe in the negative, do maybe in the positive and doubt your doubts. Okay, if you think, hey, I'm not good enough, just doubt that. I doubt that I'm not good enough. I've always been good enough. What if I already was the person that I needed to be right now? Right? So reframe the doubt. When the doubt is coming in the negative and it's making you question the thing that you're doing, question the doubt itself. Right? Use the questioning over it. It's the same idea if you procrastinate on your procrastination, right? You're like, yeah, I'll do it later. Tomorrow I'll procrastinate. I'll do it now instead. Right? You're using the power of the thing against itself. Okay? You're giving it a taste of its own medicine. And by doing this, you will eradicate this Jonah complex. Okay? Now, yes, we feel like fleeing away from our destinies at times. Yes, we know that. But as long as you're aware of that journey and you're not taking that underdog effect, as I talked about in another video, right? As long as you know that, okay, this is about to happen, and I can either grow here exponentially or I can drop here. And that's okay. It's okay to recognize that you have insecurities, that you have flaws, but wear that like a trademark, okay? Be able to embrace that and be able to fully come into this world being like, hey, guess what? I am great. I am glorious. I am the next Da Vinci. I am the next Tesla. I am the next Drake or whatever. Whatever you want to do. I am the next Picasso, right? And double down on your strengths and talents and really be able to embrace that and lean into your edge. Okay, I started this program just yesterday. We had our first call, Intentional Impact, Jose Rodriguez, okay? And basically, in this program, what we're doing is essentially, we are leaning into our edge but not faking it. Okay, so the thing that I brought up was that I reject myself and I'm afraid of rejection of other people. Now, consciously, I'm not. Consciously, what I'm doing is I'm telling people like, hey, every rejection is a redirection, and is next opportunity. We've got to move on, right? Like. But ultimately, it does feel bad to be rejected by someone. And again, I know consciously it's not a rejection of me. It's a rejection of my approach. It's a rejection of some logistic, right? Consciously, I know that, but it just feels bad to feel rejected. It feels bad to not belong. It feels bad to feel bad about your body image or whatever, all of these flaws or insecurities. So when you are aspiring to be great, just remind yourself that even great people, they question themselves. I'm sure that Nelson Mandela at one point was like, man, I don't know if I can do this, bro. You know? I think that there were many people in their traction of life, on their pathway or their dharma of life, they were there and they stopped for a second and they questioned themselves, like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to be doing this correctly, or, you know, what if the spotlight is on me and I mess up in front of everyone, right? Yes, that is a very, very valid fear, and you don't have to push that away, but you must lean into that and just stay there with the feeling of tension. Stay there with the fear and do it anyway. Because when I spoke yesterday and I did it anyway, there was a freeing feeling that came upon me, and I got to understand more about myself by actually speaking into my embodiment of what my actual feeling is telling me, instead of saying the most, you know, impressive thing or try to, like, you know, validate myself. Instead, it's like, what is honest, you know, what is truthful, and letting that pierce through the screen and getting you guys to, like, notice that. You know what I mean? We all go through different issues throughout the day and all these different, you know, distracting factors. Ultimately, it's important to remind yourself of why it's important for you to lean into your greatness, why it's important to be self-actualized in the first place. What are you doing it for, right? Is it pro-social activity or behavior that you're doing, right? Are you doing it to the betterment of humanity? You are letting your service be not as important as what others think of you, right? You got to make it about the service. You got to make it about the art, and you got to make the art more important than what people think about you. That is one gift that I'm going to give you here today in this video. If this didn't resonate with you, that's completely fine. Shoot me a message, you know, we can get talking more. And if you have anything in particular that you need help with, I can definitely help you to deconstruct that, as I've done with lots and lots of people through the Flow Zone Academy, through coaching with me in person, through consulting in person in Kolkata, India, as well as online. You guys can get in touch with me. Have an amazing day. May the flow be with you and stay legendary. See you next time. Boom.